Hi, welcome to Family for Fun vlog. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing.
So now that we finished the land purchase, we want to start looking at next steps already. And so right now, one of the first things we're doing is trying to find the right architect. So a big thing is, of course, due diligence, like with so many other things. And we're looking for architects that are in Puerto Princesa, Philippines, because we think it's important for someone to come out to the land and look and see what's unique about the land. So we're looking at reviews online, of course. Now, some people have recommended that you go and visit the office of them. Having an office, we think, is really important. And we'd love to go visit, but because we're outside of the Philippines just now, we're not going to be able to do that with our architects in this particular time. So we're going to have to make up for it by either having our local contacts pop in and get something or talk to them or something, or just kind of confirm online that they have an actual office in the capital city. Now, what we're doing is we've just got a list of highly rated folks online, and we're emailing them and just asking some basic questions like, can you let us know about your architecture license? What are your recent projects that you have completed through build? So a lot of folks have sent us things just, hey, this is a design that I thought of. And I think it's probably a little bit better to say, what have you designed that you actually built and made real? Because then that's more of practical design. So we're getting the idea of their portfolio as well. So we're emailing them. And then, one of the big red flags that we're seeing is that certain folks that we thought we could work with, they're really not emailing us back. They're not communicating back and forth. We're just trying to even email them and just get an idea of their professional portfolio. And they're not even bothering to send us information back. So how can you really work with someone like that? That's our feeling. So we're kind of limiting those folks that have the red flags on them. And so, yeah, that's our first process for now. So another thing we have to start thinking about is when you do select an architect, what is the way that they can charge you? There are apparently at least two different fee styles. One is where the architect has already a construction team that they have a relationship with, and they can go from your design, talking to you about your design, getting the design finalized, and then pass it off and start working with their team. And there's some advantages to that, which we thought were really pretty cool, which is you only have to communicate with one point of contact, which is your architect. And then they're going to have that relationship with the builders. So they're going to say, hey, builders, by the way, the owner said X, Y, and Z. So you don't have to go and find a different foreman or something to talk with, which just sounds like a really great advantage. And there's only a single contract, I guess. The more contracts, the worse probably for all these different fine print to worry about, like what's included or what's not included. You have to really dissect those, as we found from our land purchase agreements. Mm-hmm. You have to look at all the details, because the detail, one of the examples from our attorney was that they had this acceptance fee. We only were like, oh, it's a fee for really nothing except for you to accept the work. So, the more things you have to trip you up like that, that's probably worse. So this is nice as one contract. And then, you're just communicating the same throughout the entire project. So that sounds like really great. So we're really considering that strongly. Now, there's another way. You have a separate architect and a separate builder. So I guess the best thing about that is you can evaluate your favorite architect, and you can go to the builder that has a great reputation and a great deal for you. Maybe you can negotiate something better, or get like a highly rated builder that's done a certain kind of construction like yours. But in that case, you're kind of running around like, hey, I'll call the architect and ask him, and I think you become maybe more of a communicator, single point of contact in that case. So I think unless there's a real reason for us to go that way, I don't think we'll really go that way.
Yes, and you're giving more time to manage all of your workers. You have to be there on a site every day just to look carefully what are they installing. For example, utilities, or in structural building and all of that stuff. It's very, very important. You have to really, really look carefully.
I guess you'd probably like go talk to the foreman or something. Like, hey, architect, I'm going to go talk to the foreman of this build company that you have no relationship with whatsoever. And architects have warranties on their work too, right?
Yeah, for my research, they have like 15 years.
Yeah, and who knows if that varies or if it's a law. We're just starting to look into that. But it's good to know that if they design something that's, I don't know, dangerous or unstable, I don't even know if you could even get that past the approval process. But anyway, if there's some issue that's connected back to the architect or their design and build, there's going to have to be a warranty of some kind. You certainly don't want to just take ownership of it and just be like, okay, I guess all the liabilities on me. So we're going to look into that a little bit more deeply, but we've heard something about that. All right. So the next subject that we're just starting to look into is the room sizes. So we have our house here in the U.S., which we have some basis to understand sizes of the house, what makes us comfortable, basically. We researched on the web to try to get what is the average room size or typical recommended room sizes. And we saw some ones that seemed like extremely small. So we're just basing it on our own, this experience and experiences at Airbnbs. We go and travel around the Philippines and stay at Airbnbs. One of the things we saw that was that some food for thought was we saw some people that had like a huge house. So they must have just wanted a huge house. But then we saw very large unused spaces. So the sala, it would be really, really big from the sofa is like 10% of the room. And then like it looks like a roller skating rink. You could just go like ride your bicycle around in the rest of the sala. It's really huge. And we didn't really know what that was used for.
Yeah, it's like wasted space.
And it's going to cost, right? Anyway, we saw some recommendation that was within our range, which was 15 to 25 square meters per room, which really matches what we have here in the US. So we thought that sounds pretty good to have that range. And then what we did was we measured the rooms that we felt very comfortable in. So I think a lot of the architecture is about like, how do you feel? Do you feel like you need a huge room? Then hey, go for it, right? But we feel comfortable in this house. So we said, okay, let's measure our rooms. And we did. We actually did this just informally, measure the rooms. And then we used the online calculator. I will link to this online calculator below, which is it's just to convert from whatever method you use. So here in the US, we use feet and inches. And of course, in the Philippines, you use square meters. So this calculator, we're going to link to it's great because whatever you measure in, it will do the calculation in all the other units. It'll do everything anyway. Even if you don't need it, it'll do feet and meters and everything else. Hectares, I think. I don't know. Acres. Acres, if you need a really big sala, you want to do hectares.
Yes.
That's a joke. So that's what we did. We just starting, again, remember that this is our very basic research just to get ideas. And so, yes, the next one, we said, okay, what's the size of the house? And then let's play around with that, literally guessing and playing. We said, what about pool sizes? Because we definitely need a pool. The family has such fun in the pool when we go to visit the Philippines. So we want to have a pool there. We just didn't know sizes and what we've experienced. What we've experienced, like you can tell when you're in a pool that's like kind of too small. And then you use a pool that's like an Olympic sized pool. It's like, we don't need all this space. What are we paying for all this space? Yeah.
It's basically too big for us.
And we don't really want to pay for stuff that you don't need, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So we saw an average rectangle, supposedly 47 square meters. I don't know. We have to compare this to reality too, because we should probably go measure a pool somewhere. But 47 square meters is what they said. But in our case, as we'll explain later, when we go to the Philippines, it's going to be a lot of people. It's going to be a lot of family. And so because we have so many family members, we thought, at this early stage, let's just estimate for a bigger pool. And then our bigger pool is like 70 square meters. And I don't know, maybe it's not necessary, but we just thought we'd just start out like that.
Yeah, we'll see.
And then what we did was we also found Philippines cost per square meter. This is 2024 prices, 20,000 to 30,000 pesos per square meter of pool. That's, again, we're just using this. We're starting to make a spreadsheet out of that just so we can go back in and just like, okay, in Palawan, it turns out it's a different number. We'll just update that. So if you know how to use Excel, that's what we're starting to use. You say pool, what's the pool size we're starting with? 70, maybe it'll go down, maybe it'll go up. And then what's the cost per square meter in Palawan? We just use this number, 25,000 per square meter, and boom, you have some kind of an idea. We're also considering an infinity pool, a little bit more like an upscale mode. And so what we found online, those are more expensive to build. And so we have to see we're going to go that way. But it's good to know, okay, the price might go up by X amount of pesos.
So yeah, you can research based on your, you want to spend for your swimming pool. The more you add for like square meters, it's going to cost you more. So.
And we're trying to balance, when you're building a house, you have this idea of like your dream home, and probably, unless you for some reason sell your dream home after you've built it, a few years down the road. But in our experience, our intention now is to really build something that we can spend time with family. We might, rent it out or something like that to vacation rental. And so we know that you could go like wild on sizes and make everything extra large and extra whatever, but we're trying to go in the middle so that we feel like we're going to be comfortable, we can live our life, we can rent it out if we need to, and go in that, try to hit that range without just doing extra luxury or on the other side like extra basic.
Exactly.
Another item that we definitely want is solar. So in the Philippines, from what we've heard online, the electricity costs are very, very high. So it's like hundreds of US dollars per month. And especially folks like myself, who I need my air conditioning, and we're going to have this pool. It's going to be having pumps and all kinds of things like that. And then we're going to have really nice stuff to make life comfortable. And so we know that we're either going to pay the amount for the solar at the front, or if you wait, you're just going to be paying not even a small amount. It's not like 100 US dollars. It's like 300, or I've heard really high numbers, a little bit higher than that even. And so it starts to make solar look like a really good deal. And why wait till you pay the electric company $1,000, and then put a solar system in? It makes sense to do it from the start. That's my opinion. And plus, if you've been in the Philippines, there's brownouts and blackouts happen fairly
every day.
Pretty frequently.
Not even every day. It's like sometimes twice a day, or you know.
And so for us, and then, you're trying to live your life and have fun, whatever. And if you have guests there who are renting it out, you're impacting them. And so we thought, let's just probably go for one of these battery systems where your solar charges up the battery so that you can use that in the evening when there's no solar power to consume that. And then also during the day and the evening, if there's a brownout, boom, you have battery power going already. So we just getting some ideas of cost and then of kind of payback time. And we really appreciate the videos from the Finn Snow's videos on YouTube, as well as Slater Young. We've watched those two channels. So shout out to those guys. Really great stuff on helping us to formulate some ideas of cost and then payback as well.
Yep.
So at this early stage, we don't even have a design, right? We don't have an architect even, but we really want to get an idea of our costs, what it might possibly cost. Is it, really low number, or is it a really high number? We're just trying to get somewhere in the ballpark. And so what we're doing is we guessed at all the rooms. So I showed you this before, this paper. What we did was because this house we feel comfortable in, we said, let's not make it bigger than this house. Let's not make it smaller unless we really have to. Actually, this could help us figure out if we say, we measured our house now and it turns out to be, we don't have the budget for that.
Yes.
Right? Then we can just say, all right, we're going to shave some of that off.
A little bit of, smaller than we think, we could just minus all of this per square meter per room. Especially
if it's just extra, So one of the things we were thinking about was we've been in Airbnbs where they just have like not even a walk-in closet. It's a closet that opens up, and then they have all these drawers and hangers just in the closet, even the drawers, right? And so do you even need space for a dresser in your room if you have this cool built-in closet? You don't even need a dresser. Well, there's like how many feet right there? Like 1 or 2 feet. You could kind of pull it in because you're not putting these other things around there. So we know that we want to keep within a budget pretty strictly. So these are the things we're thinking about. But we thought we would just start by guessing all these room sizes, putting in what's comfortable for us, that was proven to be comfortable to us. And then the pool, as we said, we haven't even measured a pool that seems moderately sized to us. So we're guessing at that number as well. And then some of the places we looked at on YouTube, they said you have to add in, what about stairs? There's like space for the stairs to go up. There's space for closets. There's space for utility rooms. So that, again, the Finn Snow, as an example, he has a separate utility room just for his solar batteries. Well, if solar is important to us, we have to account for a small-ish closet for like solar equipment. Then we're using those numbers and a cost per square meter range that seems about right for us.
So house cost from mid-range to high-end range. So mid-range, it costs 30,000 pesos per square meter. And that's only for the mid-range. And for high-end range, it costs 50,000 pesos or more. So that's like based on my research, but you guys can always look on a web, Google it, and make sure if that's really correct.
Yeah, and I think inflation is a big thing now in 2024. These are numbers from 2024, and people are saying 30,000 is like a mid-range, and then 50,000 or more, as I said, for the high range. And then I guess this gets down to the kind of material. So one of the things that we're looking into from one of the YouTube channels are these special kind of like concrete blocks called AAC. That probably, I'm guessing, is going to cost more. It's a insulating type of concrete block. And is it Anderson Family is the one that you showed me?
No, I think Armstrong.
Armstrong. The Armstrong family
Yep.
is another one that so shout out to the Armstrong family. That's the first time I saw that. And then when you look into these AAC blocks, those are so much higher quality. It goes up faster. It doesn't need the same type of construction methods as what I've seen. It goes up much faster. But at the beginning, you're going to need, money to pay for that. So is that going to go into our cost per meter? But later on, it's an insulating type block, and it has a higher, better properties. You can kind of look at AAC blocks if you want to research that. They have one outlet representatives in Puerto Princesa. But those are the kind of things that we're going to have to weigh. And if they say, oh, that's going to bring your range to 52,000 per square meter, those are the things that we want to consider. But we thought we better start in the higher range. So at least you have the options. And then again, what happens if you have to trim down the room sizes or whatever? What's your priority,
And you don't get any surprises.
Yeah.
How much the cost.
Mm-hmm. All right. The next thing that we're going to talk about is fees. So we had learned a lot from a prior renovation. Difficult renovation, actually, because we didn't understand capping the fees. So one person that we worked with would bill per hour. And so when we signed the agreement, our designer, our interior designer, that they said, okay, we're going to work per hour. And then, okay, your hourly rate seems within the great range, but there was no cap. And so what we found was that this designer was just she would do a bunch of work. We wouldn't know how much work or what kind of work. And then you would get this like
extra charge.
Yeah, like you would wait every month and you get this nakakatakot email.
Scary.
Oh no, I don't want to open the email. I'm afraid to even open it. Why? Because it's nakakatakot email monthly from
Our
your designer.
interior designer.
And so it was true. And it was like huge chunks of money. It could be, I'm not even going to say the amount of money. Believe me, it's huge. But, it was scary and it ruined the budget basically because there's no control over that. So this time around, we learned from our experiences and we're going to get either a package deal. Like we understand that what are the ranges they have for architects? There's like a percentage range, right?
Yeah, it's 5% to 12%.
Yeah.
But, like what I said again, that's only based on my research. Typically, that's what they charge for.
That's what we've been seeing on the web. So they say, well, your house is going to be X million pesos, so I'm going to charge you, boom, this amount.
It depends on the sizes of your house, and it depends how hard the way they built your house.
Yeah, and so we're looking at that to see if that's the fair way to do it or the way we want to do it. And then the fixed fee, I guess, would be similar to what we were trying to do with we're trying to do this with the attorney, where you say, here's a fixed fee. It's not a percentage of your house. I'm just saying number of hours, maybe it's going to be so many hours. And therefore, I'm going to translate that into a dollar or peso figure and boom, just pay that. I don't know what the difference between percentage. I guess that's just based more on hours for that one. And then there's another hourly one. I haven't seen this one on the web, but I wonder if there must be just hours. Just charge your hours, but having the cap to say I will not bill you more than this. That's the key to not having scary emails every single month.
And I guess you can negotiate it. It depends how you talk about, about building and all of that design, but it's really, really up to you.
Yeah, so that's about fees and how we're preparing, or as part of finding the architect, which one of them might be more flexible or more give you a different package. We're just trying to keep that in mind so we don't agree to anything that would be really difficult to manage from a budget perspective.
Yep.
And the last thing that we're starting to do now is figuring out how do clients work with architects. So we've been, again, researching on the web to see, and I have some books too that I've started to read about that. But how do you work with an architect? And there are some really, really surprising things. And this is why we really want to share this with you all, because it's something that I didn't really think of, or I didn't know, never having built a house with an architect before. So one of the channels, shout out again, is N3 Architecture. Chris Novelli is an architect, and he describes some of the really interesting things that the way he works. So he works with clients and what clients should consider when they're starting to work with an architect. So as an example, he talked about where's the location of the sun. If you have your house turned a certain way, the sun might be on the wrong side and you wouldn't get any sun in your windows. Or if there's too much sun in your windows. So he said, one of the things he said, and you can check out his channel, is about in the winter, the sun has a different position than in the summer. So you want to consider both of those. Of course, in the Philippines, it's all summer. It's a summer. It's rainy and hot. Rainy or hot, right? Tag-ulan, tag-araw, right? And so that's different here in the U.S. or in other parts of the world. You're saying, hey, I want the sun to warm up my house, right? So that's something that we have to consider for the Philippines is like, what are we going to do in the tag-ulan?
Tag-init.
In the
tag-ulan and tag-init.
Yeah.
Yep.
And this is going to affect your design, of course. Now, another thing he mentioned was the total cost of building this house, okay, that you're planning. And those costs are not just construction costs. So, according to our cost per square foot and all that, I don't believe that includes these small fees that you might have. So, of course, you have the architect fees that could be separated. You have an engineer. So if you do some advanced engineering, you're going to need maybe more engineering work to make sure that something doesn't, it has the structural integrity that it needs. And then landscaping. So we have, our house will not take up the entire property. So for sure, and you had some ideas about landscaping already, right?
Yep, we are going to have tropical. I kind of like a Bali style or Hawaiian style garden. So that's what we're all going to have, I guess. I mean, for now, but we'll see, you know.
Right. So these are costs, and we don't really have any details or any designs, of course, as I keep saying. But like I, for example, would want to probably look out to see a lighted path. You know, what about those landscaping lights? That's, I don't know how many pesos that's going to be. Well, that's going to be added on to the cost per square meter that you're working with. And then, of course, there's fees. And we just started to hear about fees. Like, what about your building permit? What about all these approvals or something else that might have to happen?
Yep.
So you have to realize that if you have X amount of pesos in your budget, there's like a percentage. I don't know how many percentage is starting to look significant percentage that's not going to go into the house. It's going to be these other fees. You need a well or you need some other additional soil testing or something like that. So
water, electricity, I don't know.
Yeah, just remember that stuff, you have to be aware that your budget is going to be taken up by that stuff. Now, another thing that N3 architecture videos talk about is how do you live? So I never thought of this one either, where he would say, he recommends on his videos that you say, what is your routine? What is your routine throughout the week and throughout the different months of the year? Do you wake up early? You know, you want the sun coming in, or are you a late sleeper? Maybe you want to have some kind of a more darker room for your sleeping, or do you have a lot of people over? What do you actually do in your actual life? And I was really glad he mentioned that, because when we go to the Philippines, it's a lot of family coming over to visit. It's really fun fiesta mode over
and we
there.
Get up really, really early.
Oh yeah, and we get up early. That's another one. So he's what Chris on his channel, one of the things he recommends is really write out your actual life. Like, what do you like to do in your house? Well, how do you enjoy your house? And so that's something that I'm definitely going to follow that I hadn't really thought of. I thought you would just kind of look at the outside shape of the house and go, hey, really beautiful house. But actually there's more than that. It's how you use the house as something you would tell your architect about. So you would get organized with these ideas. What Chris has recommended is that you get organized beforehand. So when you go in, you have this nice organization about, of course, you want to see how the house looks and so forth, but then your daily life and your the different ways you use the house. So those are some of the things we're thinking about. Is there anything else you want to add to that? Did we cover everything?
So far, you know, we're thinking about the design for our the next one. It will be the design for design in build that we have to think, and whose architect we are going to choose. And so if you guys know someone that works or know anybody in Palawan, the best architect or the best licensed architect that you know, somebody that really, really good, you could, you know, write down below, comment down below, and then we can look who architect that we are going to use. I mean, we have another in mind now, but we are not sure yet. So we're still searching for many architects that we could possibly collect.
Right, because it's good to compare, as you probably all know. And so now we're still in this early process. We thought we'd just send an update just so you know the process that we're in. I got a lot of reading to do. I got a lot of YouTube videos to watch and to summarize. And these are all helping us. And we compare it to the renovation that I mentioned. We just went into that in a big rush, and we definitely got, you know, hammered by the mistakes that we made.
Yeah.
But you don't want to make a mistake twice. It's kind of understandable. If you rush into something, you don't have time, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from your mistakes. So this time we have all of 2024 to do our design process. And so we are starting early, and we're doing our research and getting ideas, hopefully from you out there in YouTube land.
Taking our time to, you know, and to think about what's the house going to be look like, everything.
And I'm sure in this long process, we're here at the very beginning, we are going to make some mistakes. So we sort of accept and forgive ourselves in the beginning for making some crazy mistake that's going to cost us time or money. But that's part of the process and part of learning, like we did in our last project, our renovation project. So that's it for today.
Yes. And again, thank you for watching. And
we're glad that we could share some of our experiences and where we are in this very early process. Make sure you check out the links below for some of the things that the resources that we've already used and some of the great YouTube channels that have already been through the process, and we're learning so much from those guys.
If you have any question, please write down below. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.